Soldiers of the Round. What the heck am I talking about here? First, let's break this into two parts. One, what is Knights of the Round? And two, what is Soldier? From there, we can take a nice little walk into Crazy Town. And of course, there's going to be spoilers to the original game and the remakes here. So Knights of the Round is the strongest summon in Final Fantasy VII. 13 knights descend upon the foes of Cloud and his party, and the final knight Arthur is wielding the legendary sword Excalibur. So why is Knights of the Round the strongest summon in the original Final Fantasy VII? Because Knights of the Round does a siege weapon's worth of damage to the foes. It hits 13 times in one summon, once for each knight summoned. Damage in the original Final Fantasy VII was capped at 9,999 per hit, meaning with some min-maxing of stats, you could in theory hit for 9,999 damage 13 times with one spell. That's about 130k of damage for one ability, which is pretty wild. Downside here is that you have to sit through a 90-second cutscene, but hey, it's a pretty cool cutscene, and maybe you can get a snack in that time or a quick bathroom break. Maybe you could even get a few squats in if you need it.
Hey, rein it in.
Alright, so Knights of the Round is the best summon in the game, but what exactly is a summon? Well, in the remake, summons are described as fearsome creatures that are the embodiment of ancient knowledge, condensed into materia, basically known memories of the ancient creatures of legend. Summon materia as we get in the remakes, though, isn't exactly naturally created, it's synthetically made. In most cases, these come from everyone's favorite character, Chadley. As you learn more about the regions, you learn about the mythos of each of these legendary creatures, and a materia is formed from those memories, which of course you end up fighting the beast in order to get a hold of the summoning materia. This method of getting summoning materia from Chadley, to me, seems to imply that there may be more natural versions of the materia out in the wild, possibly even more powerful versions out there existing. This natural versus synthetic way of materia may be a way in the remakes that we actually upgrade our materias, maybe even combining them with Chadley's synthetic versions and the natural versions to create a more potent and true version of the materia. This last part is purely speculation on my part though for the third game. So summons are memories, and that makes sense. Ifrit is the spirit of fire, Shiva one of ice. Some of the memories are even creatures that protected certain regions like Odin, Alexander, and Bahamut. But if summons are memories, then who are these Knights of the Round? What is the memory that's associated with them? Well, honestly, we don't really have much to go off of here. The way you get the summon in the original game is a long process of breeding a golden chocobo and using it to get to a special island, and the materia is kind of just there. A lot of folks have assumed and speculated that these original knights are Cetra knights that seal Jenova away, which, hey, that would make a lot of sense to me. However, the devs, specifically Katase, when they were questioned on this subject in an old interview about these Knights of Legend, he said the following: "Everyone is thinking too deeply, reading between the lines too much. That makes it difficult because if you think about it that way, we might have to make it that way. That's definitely not true." But hey, Katase, that's what we're doing here. We're trying to read between the lines and make wild claims. So yeah, officially these aren't Cetra Knights, but we'll see how that goes. As we know, the lore is changing in the remakes. Things that never had answers or explanations before are starting to get them, and it's almost guaranteed that these knights will be one of these elements that gets fleshed out and further explained in some way or another. Could they just end up being similar to the summons now, where we just get little lore drops from a region? Maybe. Could the knights be like Gilgamesh quests in Rebirth, having us run all over the world map to collect pieces and have Chadley throw something together for us in the end? Possibly. Personally though, I think what we're going to be running around the world map collecting at the end of the next game is going to be pieces of the fusion sword. That's just a wild guess. But for Knights of the Round, I think it'll be something more special, something a bit deeper and more impactful to the story overall. And while I do think we will get the classic version of the knights from Chadley in some way, shape, or form, where we discover their mythos, possibly finding out how these heroes work together in tandem to defeat and seal away Jenova in the past, I think, as I speculated before, we might get more enhanced versions of some of these summons in the next game. And I think for Knights of the Round, it's going to be something a bit deeper that, with the accompaniment of Holy, can help us defeat not just Jenova, but maybe Sephiroth once and for all. But what could that something be? Well, first we gotta talk about Soldier. So what is Soldier? Well, definition-wise from Shinra, soldiers are elite troops assigned to Shinra's Public Security Division. Those who pass soldiers' rigorous screening tests are then bathed in Mako to further enhance their physical capabilities. I get a little more in the weeds about Soldier in my Rufus video, but what Shinra doesn't tell you about these troops is that they were originally intended to be Cetra human hybrids. The newer models, enhanced through Hojo's twisted experiments, however, were given Jenova cells, which eventually turns you into a mindless husk after a handful of years through the process of degradation, which we see through Roche in Rebirth. But to a lot of people in Midgar, soldiers are just the weaponized super soldiers for Shinra, and the S-rank soldiers like Sephiroth, Angeal, and Genesis are even in some cases considered superstars and legends. But to a handful of other people, most of which happen to be our main characters, soldier means something much, much more and something deeper. Much like in real-world jobs and careers can have more than just the actions and tasks. They can have values that extend beyond that act of service. This can vary person to person, but you see this a lot in things like military members, teachers, and even first responders. This can even tie into things like what it means to be American, Japanese, or English. It goes beyond citizenship. It can also hold a set of values behind it. In Final Fantasy VII, soldier to some people means more than just being a super soldier and being rank and file for Shinra. It means being a hero. Angeal seems to be the grandfather that sort of started this idea. Sure, he was part of Project G, but he said he joined soldier to help take care of his family and village with their hardships, and because he wanted to fight for the greater good. He wanted to protect the world and its people with honor and encourage people to embrace their dreams. This is the oath that Angeal puts into the Buster Sword, which eventually was passed on to Zack. And during Zack's time under Angeal in the soldier program, Zack learned to embrace these ideals of honor and pursuing dreams as well. And we also see him pass this philosophy onto platoons of soldiers in Crisis Core. Now, when Cloud was younger, soldier symbolized to him being a hero and being strong enough to protect the people you love. In Cloud's case, protecting Tifa. Now, Sephiroth, what soldier means to him is being strong in body, mind, and heart, and that a hardened heart, ruthless and devoid of hesitation, is a sign of strength. Now, Sephiroth was kind of forced into soldier, being that he was considered the first soldier, so he didn't exactly sign up for soldier like the others did. It was probably more so a requirement of Hojo. All this to say that sure, soldier definition wise is Shinra's super soldiers, and that's why people like to screech and ree about how dumb it is when Zack and Cloud say honor as soldier during their theatrical moments.
Embrace your dreams, and whatever happens, protect your honor as a soldier.
But soldier doesn't mean just that. Soldier, to people like Zack, Angeal, and Cloud, is an oath, a symbol of honor. It stands for a system of values. The value of trying to protect those who can't, to help not just yourself but others, to embrace not just your dreams but the dreams of those around you, and to have honor in how you conduct yourself. This definition of soldier, it's a bit chivalrous, isn't it? It's almost like a knight's oath. I mean, you don't even really need to be in Shinra's soldier program to have these values either. Zack even says to Cloud and Advent children, well, okay, you never made soldier, but it's what's in here that counts. So, alright, you don't have to be in Shinra's soldier program to have the values of soldier. Makes sense. They just happen to have been created by people that were in soldier, and soldier is just the term they use to symbolize the values that they have. So where exactly am I getting with all this? When I say soldiers of the round, am I saying a bunch of when I say soldiers of the round, am I saying a bunch of when I say soldiers of the round, am I saying a bunch? Oh my god, dude. When I say soldiers of the round, am I saying a bunch of soldiers we know are going to replace the knights? Maybe some will fill a couple of the knight slots, but we have already established that you don't need to be in the soldier program to embrace these values, to embrace this oath. I have loosely touched on this before, but when we look at what Zack is doing in the live stream and its memories, he's trying to help people and inspire them to not give up hope and make them embrace their dreams, live out his oath. He even stumbles into sharing his oath with Biggs in Rebirth, and Zack has already done this before. He did it with Cloud in Crisis Core, and he passed the torch on to Cloud as his living legacy. But with Zack adrift in the live stream, I think he's going to start finding a lot more people, a lot more lost people that need to be lifted up because they're stuck in their limbos. As mentioned, we see this mostly shown through Biggs in Rebirth. Biggs has survivor's guilt, feels alone, can't build a decent bomb, and overall just feels useless. And Zack does seemingly lift Biggs' spirits, and he makes him see that in the end Biggs actually did matter, even though he thinks he didn't. Now, things do end quite abruptly for Biggs once he realizes this.
Biggs, buddy?
And then Zack swiftly jumps into the live stream to avoid his fate.
It's got one twisted sense of humor.
This is my life. I make the rules. See you never!
And we have tons of other characters in Final Fantasy VII who share this feeling of being lost and hopeless. Who knows, maybe some of this is by design from someone standing at the end of time. This is almost a reoccurring theme in Final Fantasy VII. We know characters like Wedge in Remake just wanted to feel important and like they mattered. We know Jessie had a dream that she never really got to live out. This list goes on and on. Finding 13 people to fill these slots, to embrace Zack's oath, Angeal's oath, Cloud's oath, to embrace their dreams and never give up hope. There's a lot of people who could fill these seats, and there's a lot of cutscenes that are gonna need to happen to have this occur. Doesn't seem that far-fetched for Zack's quest while he's adrift at the lifestream to be bringing these people up and making them accept an oath, making them become a knight. And as mentioned, materia in general is condensed memories. So when Zack's going through the life stream, helping these people out, giving them more positive memories where they don't give in to despair and loss, he could be creating new materia through this process. And the memories in these materias could be what leads to the creation of Knights in the Round. It's also kind of how I think Holy's gonna end up working, but that'll be discussed later on. I even mentioned in my Rufus video that Rufus has a strange and heroic turn of character that's never really explained or fleshed out. Cloud makes an offhanded comment to Rufus in Rebirth that he isn't part of Soldier. Could it be, as I mentioned before, that when Rufus is on death's door, Zack comes to him and guides him and has Rufus basically walk this oath along with the rest of them? It's almost impossible to pin down what characters could be roped into this new Knights of the Round Table. There's just so many to choose from. And again, I've touched on this before. I even dug up the original image I used to kind of illustrate the concept of this idea and how it could span across the compendium of Final Fantasy VII, given the strange nature of how the life stream works. I'd probably swap a few of these people out at this point in time, but who it is right now isn't that important. I'll let you all run crazy in the comments with who you think the 13 could be. And I think the crazy cutscene that we get when we fight Jenova, with Cloud's whole party fighting and beating on Jenova, I think this cutscene is definitely a tease of what could come, not just for other fights in the game, but also for what Knights of the Round could sort of look like overall. But I mean, yeah, just think about it for a little bit. Instead of having random knights come in, you can have Jessie come in and throw one of her giant bombs. Biggs and Wedge can open fire on the enemy. Rufus could do his coin flip double laser shot thing. Roche could even come in and throw his motorcycle with the Fyaga spell to make it blow up. There's a lot of possibilities here, and especially when you bring in the whole compendium, things can get really wild. And call me crazy here, but Cloud and Zack kind of fight pretty similar, and this sword strike Cloud does here looks kind of similar to another one, doesn't it? But that's ultimately kind of my theory here. I think the old knights will get referenced in some way, shape, or form, but I think they'll be replaced by new knights, new heroes. I think Zack, through his journey in the live stream, is going to bring these characters out of their loss, out of their depression, and out of their despair. He's going to give them hope, which is what Zack kind of does. And they're going to embrace the oath of soldier, the oath of honor, the oath of embracing your dreams and not giving up hope when all seems to be lost. Honestly, this heavily ties into another theory I'm currently working on around Zack and Aerith and what they're doing with the white materia. Bringing in hope is heavily related to that idea, and it seems from the black materia, which seems to represent despair, that's definitely on the rise and festering, and I kind of hinted at that by saying maybe there's someone at the end of time who's designing this, but I'm saving that for another video, and if that sounds interesting, please like and subscribe, and as always, poke holes in this theory. I'm always open to those, and as always, drive fast, take chances. Later, nerds.